Greetings, fellow men. Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again, and today I want to give you my take on the laws that have been passed recently concerning censorship on the internet and the control that the German government wants to get over media in general, but especially the new media and the online world. So many people talked about this already, so just in brief let me say that it is basically a law that says that the companies like Facebook or Google could be sued. They will face heavy fines if something like hate speech or quote-unquote hate propaganda or any opinions basically that are not in accordance with the official version of our government would be posted online. So they have to delete that stuff within 24 hours or they face heavy charges. Now, first of all, this law was passed just in time before the upcoming elections by the end of September in this fall, so that the government can prevent that alternative media or just normal citizens actually on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube could actually give an alternative view or, God forbid, an eyewitness report of what they've seen themselves, for example. Yeah, the government doesn't want that, so they want to create this chilling effect. They want to criminalize it. They want to make people afraid of losing their job, of being put to jail, for example, or just being labeled racist or being ostracized, right? So the way that this then works is that even if some little special snowflake feels offended by something, they can of course report that comment, posting or article or whatever, and then of course these corporations will delete that. The reason is that they don't have time to check it, but the severity of the punishment would be so strong that they would rather delete anything that will be reported. And of course, just like it is now, just a citizen who would complain about immigration policies in general, for example, will be deleted. But if a left-wing radical would say something like kill all the cops or kill all the right-wing people, or if a Mohammedan would actually say kill all the infidels, that will not be deleted. That is clear. That would be actual hate speech, I think. This would be actually incitement to violence and crimes. But that is never deleted. We all know that. Now I have to say that the German version of hate speech and the law that goes with it, so-called Hetze or Volksverhetzung, is a offense that is deliberately vague. So it reaches from inciting to crimes or hatred against groups to just things that might disturb the public order and the peace. So whenever you criticize a group or whenever you criticize someone that is not identifiably German, for example, you face charges of hate speech theoretically. And this has of course a chilling effect. You're no longer to criticize anybody who is not mainstream German. And there was even a decision by a court when a Turkish community called the Germans a so-called Köterrasse, so a race of dogs. That was deemed not hate speech because Germans are not a minority in Germany, so it's not hate speech. So you can be as racist as you want towards Germans, it doesn't fall under this law. This is what you have to bear in mind. So it's a one-way street. It only works in one direction. Average Germans, normal Germans, are not allowed to criticize non-Germans, but the other way around. They can even call them a race of dogs. And the other thing is what the government did very cleverly. There was a second law that was put to a vote at the same day actually, and that was of course the Ehe für alle. That means that homosexuals should in the future, or anybody actually, should in the future be able to get married legally in Germany. So of course the newspapers were full of praise for this new law, and at last we're part of the Western world for real, and gay rights and everything was rainbow colored. Bravo! But at the same day this censorship law was also voted in, and no one really reported about that, or maybe on page 4 at the bottom. So once again I have to tip my hat to Angela Merkel. Very smart, very intelligent. they were able to slip this propaganda law just under the radar because all the attention was on this gay marriage law. And we all know that this is not gonna end at gay marriage, of course. It is the age-old dream since the 70s of the Green Party to legalize pedophilia, basically. And this is just one more step in this direction. I have nothing against gays. If they want to get married so badly and enjoy these tax benefits with adopted children, I don't think it's ideal that 2 men or 2 women adopt children. I think children should have father and a mother. But yeah, this is not really one of my key concerns. But you know, they used this gay marriage law to pave the way for Mohammedan polygamy and for the fact that pedophiles can then just buy little kids online. So they might wait for a couple of years, but that will be the next step, rest assured. So, but now back to this censorship law. You all know, of course, that the media in Germany is to a large degree government media. We have state-owned media in Germany. We have an official version of the truth in Germany. We have a Ministry of Truth, literally, in Germany. And even the private media work closely together with them, and they all have the same codes in which they speak. They all have very well defined terms of communication. They all tell the same story, the same narrative, and they don't want the private citizens of Germany or the alternative media to tell the people what is actually going on in their country. In fact, they don't want to ban fake news, they want state monopoly on fake news. That is the real thing, because the government media in Germany lies all the time. They lie every day, every article about relevant subjects, not the lottery numbers or the weather report, but the political stuff, that is full of lies. Every paragraph is full of lies. They lie by omission, they lie when it's about statistics, for example. They twist their own numbers from the Statistics Bureau when they say that the recent immigrants are even less criminal than Germans. They commit less crimes or the same amount. It's all a lie. I looked at the statistics myself. They are of course overrepresented in violent crime and in rape. Everyone knows that. You can see it in the government's own numbers. But of course the media says the opposite. Then foreign perpetrators are just given a German name in a newspaper article, all these things. But lying by omission is maybe the biggest sin that they commit in my eyes. So many people call it also the legacy media, the old media, and people ask, well, why don't they just die? You know, why don't they become irrelevant? Well, the problem is in Germany, there is a household fee, a radio tax basically, that every household has to pay, and even if nobody in Germany would turn on the TV, all these people producing this government propaganda would still get paid in the same way. And this is why the AfD, for example, is the only party who's really calling for an end of this radio tax funded state media. And this is why Alice Weidel from the AfD actually posted that in the future the posts from our side would maybe look like this, and it was followed by just a sequence of asterisks. Of course, many Germans know that this is a reference to another era in Germany where persecution of the opposition and state censorship was very strong, and that was the era Metternich, when Heinrich Heine lived. Now he published during that time a very beautiful poem, and you can see it on the screen right now. If you are not so blessed to be able to read Fracture, here it is in Fractureless font for you. It means the German censors, idiots. So I think this is a very fitting description from the side of the AfD of what is going on at the moment in Germany. They want to crack down on opposing viewpoints, on citizens who give the actual facts and not the twisted caricature of news that we see from our state media and the leftist mainstream media that are actually saying the very same thing as the state-owned media. And yeah, if you're wondering, this is not Kraut and Tea, this is Heinrich Heine, you know. He wrote this poem without the sunglasses on. So especially in the light of the recent events in Hamburg that showed you guys in America and everywhere else in the world also, I think, that Germany is not really a real Western country, not really a democracy. I mean, now maybe you understand a little better what is going on here and why it is so hard to speak your mind as a citizen in Germany. We never had the concept of free speech, and I don't only mean as a constitutional right or something. Even as a concept, free speech is something that is completely foreign to the German authorities and also by tradition over the centuries to the German people, to the German mindset. Something that is unpopular should not be said, and if you do so, you have to be punished. That is the German way. So nowadays, unless you are a complete Marxist globalist who is against capitalism, nation states, and freedom, you better shut up in Germany, or you are maybe losing your job, or maybe your bank account is cancelled, or maybe someone rapes your daughter on her way to school. Who knows, right? And don't think that the police will help you. They will shrug their shoulders and say, well, you kind of provoked them, right? You kind of did provoke them. And also the judges will not do anything. They will let them go again. This is also something that we can see clearly now in Hamburg. I promise you, we've seen that before. That was not the first riot. But more about that in the next video. So, despite everything, enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.